Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's continue implementing the main section. Hopefully we haven't forgotten anything in the implementation of the layout home screen. Since we have done this in the previous video, we are ready to use that under the main window. Before moving forward, let's add here another pocket goods, the dependency section of this app module. Add a new folder, let's call it the I. Let's define the app module. It's going to be a class, seal class. We need to register the snackbar controller and the main view model and the main window. And we have to register the splash screen. Let's do here to do. Now we have to define the app dependencies for the normal environment. Under the I, I'm going to create a new class. Let's call it app dependencies. Public sealed class. This class is going to contain static install dependencies. We're going to register the module, core data, authentication feature, product feature, wishlist feature, application settings feature, and app module by using the app container and shared. And we have to register module, core data module. The next one, auth feature, product feature, wishlist feature, and application settings feature, and app module. Next, we have to do build. As you can see here, the implementation that we have done is very intuitive. Now, we have to provide the test dependencies. Under the I, create a new sealed class. Let's call it app test module. We have to provide all the needed dependencies that we have provided earlier in the application. We have to register the in-memory database, the mock API service, the mock crypto service, the dispatcher, and the rest, all right? It starts by providing the memory database. I'm going to create a private field connection for SQLite connection. Next, we can create the memory connection, open the connection, and register the dependency by creating the options. Now we can register as a singleton the pocket goods database context. Let's register as a singleton the API service builder for the mock API service. Now for the crypto service, mock crypto service. Next, we have to register as singleton the dispatcher. And for the implementation of the dispatcher, it should be like this. I'm going to use the implementation of the dispatcher that we have done under core module. As we have done in the modules, I'm going to register the repositories and the use cases. I have to register the snackbar controller. Those are the needed dependencies for end-to-end tests. And we have to register as a transient the needed view models, product view model, wishlist manager, auth view model, login form view model, register view model, toolbar view model. And let's add here a to-do, add splash screen. Now under app dependencies, I'm going to create another function. It's going to be similar to this. Let's call it install test dependencies by doing app container, shared, register module. We have to register the module, new app test module. As simple as this. And we are done with the dependency section of our main module. Now it's time to define the splash screen. Under pocket goods, create a new folder. Let's call it splash screen. I won't use the splash screen of WPF. I want to have an animated splash screen. I'm going to create the splash screen as a window. Therefore, under splash screen, create a new window. Let's call it splash screen window. This splash screen window is going to have only one dependency property that should be accessed during the loading of the data. Basically, what's going to happen, we will show the splash screen while waiting for the check of the credentials and while waiting for the process of loading the application settings and whatnot. I'm going to show to the user in each step the dedicated feedback message, if you will. It's going to be a normal dependency property. Let's name it text loader. By default, loading. Now let's come back to the splash screen window. For the title, I'm going to name it splash screen. For the width, all right, so we cannot access actually the static resource. We have to go back to the app and register the theme as we have done in the preview. All right. And for the startup URI, we're going to delete it. That's all. Now let's come back to the splash screen window, extra small screen. Now for the Windows startup location, it has to be centered and the window style none and allow transparency true. And for the background, it should be null. It's the content that's going to define the shape and the background of this particular window. Now for the contents of the window, instead of grid, let's use material design card. One card is not going to affect the performance of our application. I will set the uniform corner radius to 12. As you can see here, we are starting to shape the content of the window. The background, I'm gonna keep it actually static. Splash screen background. Elevation, let's do 8. And let's add a margin 25 to allow the shadow to be visible. We're gonna have a killer splash screen. Now for the content of the card, the image and the text loader. Inside, we're gonna show the SVG image. For the width, for example, let's do 160. For the height, 160. And for the image source, let's do for logo. And we have to animate basically this grid to simulate grow animation. Let's center the grid horizontally and vertically, and to force the animation to start from the center of this grid, we have to do render transform origin 0.5 and 0.5. Underneath this grid, I'm gonna add the text loader and the copyright of our application. All right, I'm gonna add another grid. Let's put the text loader. It's gonna be a normal text block with typography body 1. Underneath, we have to put our copyright text content. For the text, it should be from the string resource, and we have to use the converter to replace the application name placeholder with the application name value. We only have one converter, which is string resource converter. And let's assign here the text copyright, of course, using the converter. All right, you can see here we have the copyright at the bottom right corner, as we have done here for the horizontal alignment, right, vertical, bottom. And you can add the margin according to your liking, but I think it's more than enough. For testing purposes, we have to set something here under the splash screen in order to check if we still under splash screen or we have passed this splash screen. I'm gonna add a property automation ID from the string resource, from the automation ID constant file, text copyright. That's pretty much it. Now let's define the animation. For the trigger of the animation, it's gonna be routed to the event window loaded. It's gonna be a scale animation. Let's create first of all the render transform under this particular grid. This is the animated grid. We are interested in scale transform. Let's give it a name, animated scale transform. And initially the scale X and Y should be 0. Now let's define the trigger and whatnot. Under window, specify the triggers and load it. Let's begin defining the storyboard. The scale animation, it is of type double animation. Now for the target name, I'm gonna copy this, paste it here. The target property, it's gonna be y-axis. We're going to animate to the value 1.0. And duration, I'm gonna make it just 1 second. Let's add the other animation. For the X position, it's gonna be the same thing. And that's pretty much it for our splash screen. It's a very simple animation. Now let's come back to the DI to register the needed stuff. Let's add the needed dependencies. And under app test module, that's it for the I section. Now let's move to the main window. We have to add basically the dialog host. I'm gonna anticipate by adding all the needed namespaces beforehand. As far as namespaces go, we have to add here the layout, the material design, the strings for to not hard code the values, the util, and the accessibility identifier. As I said earlier, we have to set the material design dialog host. The main window is the parent. Let's give it a name, application dialog host name, because we're gonna use this in the code behind. The identifier from string resource, we have to set the style, material design embedded dialog host. Let's use a grid. Why? We need to put here inside this particular grid the scroll viewer containing the layout, as well as the snack bar. Let's give it a name, main scroll viewer. And to check that we are under the main section of our application, we have to use the automation ID. Let's give it main scroll viewer. Inside, we have to use our layout. Let's give it a name, main layout, and let's implement the search click, search clear, logo click, suggested products selected, and wishlist manager click. Let's declare all the needed functions here in the code behind. Now outside the scroll viewer, within the same grid, we're going to add the snack bar. It's going to be the snack bar host. For the horizontal alignment should be right. Vertical alignment should be bottom. And the binding, and you have to provide actually the binding message queue as you have done in the other section in the preview of Wishlist Manager, for example. Now for the main window, what you have to override here, we're going to set the title from the string resource. We have to set actually the minimum width to small, extra small screen. We're not going to allow the user to make the window as small as possible. I'm going to disable basically for performance. Let's disable the transitions as indicated basically in the documentation. For the style, it's going to be material design window. Let's customize the startup location to center and let's set the window state maximized by default. Now for the font family, it has to be Lato regular. I'm going to remove the width and height. One last thing, which is for the icon. It's going to be app icon. I think that's pretty much it. For the next video, we're going to continue implementing the main section of our application. So see you in the next video. Happy coding!